You don't have to be fearful at all. Perfect love casts out fear, and you can always trust Jesus. He will speak to you. He'll speak to your husband, your family. He has his hand upon your life. There's no reason to live in fear. You can go in confidence in God that he's going to be with you no matter what happens.
Hi, I'm Christine Siddons, and welcome to the One Tough Mama podcast. I am a Christian wife and a mom to 8 children, and am also a grandmother. And today I have 2 very special guests, my brother and his wife, so Matt and Chrissy. And I am just very excited and that you guys have both made it, and that we've got it to work out. And so, could you guys just tell us a little bit about yourself, introduce yourselves to us, please?
Well, first, thank you for having us on. We really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Excited about it. We were both saved in the same church in New Mexico, the Potter's House. And this last Sunday was 28 years that we've been married.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have 3 amazing children and 1 granddaughter on the way. We're excited about that.
Yeah.
Pioneered 3 churches. We've taken over a church as well. And so we pioneered in Auburn, Washington, American Samoa, and here in Fort Myers, where we currently are. And then we took over the church in Lake Havasu. We're missionaries. So the missionary church, the American Samoa, it's nationalized. So one of our first converts is now, he's discipled in the church, went off island, joined the army, came back, rededicated his life, came back with his wife. And was again discipled in the church, and then he was launched to start a church, and then eventually took over the mother church. So
nice,
very excited about that. Yeah, so it's very cool, very cool.
So when they join the army, is it a U.S. Army?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, American Samoa is a U.S. territory.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's still very much culture. It's still very much Samoa. So they still function from the chief system. And, definitely their mindset is they don't want to become Hawaii, which is good, because, they've kept ownership of their land, they've kept culture. And there's a lot of really good things about their culture. It's very distinct and very unique. So definitely an experience of a lifetime.
Yeah, I bet. Chrissy?
Well, to introduce myself, I first met Matt when we were probably just young teenagers. I was in high school, and he had just moved out from California. So and I was fortunate enough to know his family before I had met you, Christine, through church. And so I was pretty confident when I met Matt that I was marrying a good guy, because he was your brother. So very blessed. So, and it wasn't long before he came out from California, got saved, and then we started dating, and then got in the ministry. So it's been an adventure ever since. And God's helped us step of the way. So we're very grateful.
Adventure's a good one.
Yeah. And can I tell a funny story?
Yeah,
sure.
Shoot.
So like Chrissy was saying, I knew her first before Matt knew her. And she would come over, and on my wall I had, like a picture wall. And Matt, I had his graduation picture on my wall. And she was just staring at my wall one day, and I don't know what I was doing in the kitchen, but I came out and she's just staring at my wall, and she's like, "Who is that right there?" And I said, "Oh, that's my brother." I said, "But he's not saved." And so I said, "So pray that he gets saved," because I could see and so anyway, obviously he got saved, they got married, and so for her bridal shower, I gave her the picture.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, it's my favorite picture.
Yeah.
Your senior picture from high school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you guys have, like you guys said, you guys have been pastors and missionaries for a number of years now. What advice would you give to those who may be fearful or hesitant to answer the call?
So, ladies first.
All right. Well, as a woman, as a wife, you don't have to be afraid. You can trust God, because first of all, there's no better place to be than the will of God. God's going to take care of you. And no matter where you're at, keeping your relationship with Christ is the number one priority. And and finding your identity in Christ, he will always take care of you. So, and living for God is an adventure, whether you get to pastor, whether you get to help out in your local church and see it grow and bless people in that way. It's always an adventure, just doing what's right, serving God. You don't have to be fearful at all. Perfect love casts out fear, and you can always trust Jesus. He will speak to you. He'll speak to your husband, your family. He has his hand upon your life. There's no reason to live in fear. You can go in confidence in God that he's going to be with you no matter what happens. He'll see you through. He'll carry you through. And I would say the best advice for me personally is just surround yourself with a good support system of good, godly women. If you're, a man, obviously with men, people that can speak into your life. So when you do go through the ups and downs of life, that you have people that are there that can just be with you, speak life to you, speak the Bible to you, words of help, words of hope. You don't ever have to be afraid as long as you have people around you who are going to lift you up and, through whatever times they're going to be there for you. Just good God people that you're open, if they see things in your life, maybe that need, correction or help, they can speak to it with the word of God, good godly wisdom. And so you never be afraid as long as you do have that. And I'm so grateful for our church because we have that. We have our pastors who can really speak into our lives, and then people, in the church like you, Christine, you've always been there for me, and just others, who you can always call and they'll always call you. And it helps to lift you up in every situation, and you can always, bounce things off of them and get some good godly wisdom.
Yeah.
What I would say.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things. A man who plans his ways, right? But God orders his steps. So, again, kind of back to what Chrissy said, you can trust God with your life. And then I think from the man's perspective, we always talk about destiny, calling, and all of that, and then those thoughts come, am I ready? Do I have what it takes? And to me, that kind of goes back to that Smith Wigglesworth saying that God doesn't call the equipped, but he equips the called. And in that, we can trust that God in his plan and his orchestrating of preparing us, that he's going to give us what we need. So we kind of always lean on a scripture too, like Evangelist Dennis Wright, when we were first married, he called us out and he gave us a word, and he used Psalms 32:8 as a reference point for the word. And that scripture says that I will instruct you and teach you in the way that you should go. I will guide you with my eye. Yeah. And so this is God speaking, and he's saying, I'm going to lead you. I'm going to guide you, and I'm going to help you to see things the way that I see things. I'm going to guide you with my eyes. And a lot of times, when we're thinking about it, we don't really fully, we get caught up in the details of it, where it's like we can trust God for the details. We just need to be willing to step out in faith and go. When we went overseas as missionaries, that was the very first time we'd ever stepped foot in that island. When we went up to Auburn, Washington, that was the very first time we'd ever been to Washington. Right. When we went to Lake Havasu, that was the very first time that we'd ever been to Lake Havasu. And so we didn't have all the details.
Yeah.
But we just knew that God was going to work it out, that God just told us to obey. He told us to go, and we're going to trust. And God has always helped us. He's always met every need. When it came to housing, buildings, people that would help us to open up doors, every time God answered the need with a solution, with a person. And so, every new ministry, every city, every new couple that God has brought in, every new convert that God has brought in, he's helped guide us to be able to work with those people, work through the problems and situations.
Yeah.
But I would just say, as an advice, those who are fearful or hesitant, when it comes to the call of God, like you can trust God.
Yeah. And what you were saying kind of reminds me of what our pastor was just saying, where he's doing a Sunday school series on the Lord is my shepherd. And he just went over it's from that book, the shepherd's view or shepherd's look at the Psalms 23. And so this Sunday was on the valley of the shadow of death, and how we can trust, because we're all going to go through the valley, and how God, like the shepherd, throughout this whole book, throughout this whole Sunday school, the shepherd is always ahead of the sheep. He knows what path is safe. He knows what other path to avoid, and he's always providing like the greener pasture versus the ones with the deadly weeds or something, right? And so it's so like eye-opening that yes, we can trust Jesus, we can trust God, because he is a good shepherd. And you guys are just saying almost exactly, the same thing, because he is our shepherd and he goes before us, so he knows what we're going to face before we even get there, and he prepares our place before we get there.
And then if you're the one that wanders away from the 99, he'll come find you.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, we even talked about that too, but
Yeah.
and so, but yeah, so what advice would you give to those who are new to pastoring or being a missionary?
I think the bit of advice when you're new to pastoring or being a missionary is definitely don't be afraid to ask questions. Ask questions of your pastor. Don't be afraid to call back. Talk to your pastor, and then also the other pastors that are around you. That those are people that God has put in your life and put around you as a resource to help. But then again, your pastor, those men of God that are currently pastoring, they're there to help you navigate, through the situations and issues. The second thing I would say is be fully present in your city, in your nation. Be willing to explore it. Be willing to learn about the history of the people of that area, the people of that nation. And then really just kind of like, we're not supposed to change to be like them, but if we don't know who they are and what motivates and drives them, then we're going to have a hard time connecting with them.
Right.
One of the things that I learned when we were overseas was I just had some of the men come over to the house and ask them to teach me how to plant a farm, and I wasn't fully prepared with like what was going to happen, but I had all these guys from church show up, and it gave them a sense of dignity to be able to teach me their culture, to teach me their way.
Yeah.
And then we connected and bonded on such a deep level when we were out there just digging holes and planting stuff,
Yeah.
and, but it was so cool because, it really did, give us a shared experience. And from that point on, those were things that I could reference as illustrations. They didn't know I couldn't use sermon illustrations about computers and, just things that are, normal in our culture, not necessarily normal to them. But I was able to use those things. I probably have like 1,000 sermon illustrations on coconuts, but I can't use that too many places, but I definitely could use it there.
Yeah.
And then the same with like the Seattle area. It's very techy, Google's up there, Microsoft is up there. So I did have to learn to talk to people on that level. And it was a stretch for me because I wasn't a computer guy.
Yeah.
But I had to learn about computers, but that was one of the things that I had intentionally done, to be present and to learn about those areas.
Or just mindsets, assumptions of how our region is versus their region. And so I could imagine that's just Southwest, Northeast, whatever. I can imagine a whole different nation. Like the cultures are so different.
Yeah. And I mean, it was something that Chrissy did, I think, just by default. I don't even know if she really thought about it, but she was like always taking the kids to the library and and taking them to like reading hours. And you did a bunch of stuff like that, right?
Right, yeah. Spanish lessons, just fun stuff at the library, activities, right?
But she was always getting them involved, so that there was a lot of interaction with local, and learning about local.
Yeah, wherever we went, we really tried to just go to all the local activities so we'd get to know people, the different schools. There were homeschool groups. We'd meet at the library. There was also, the other school groups. So we got to get to know all kinds of people just by going to all the different activities. And it was really fun. It was a fun way to get to know the community. And then as an extension of that, you could always invite people to church or just find the needs that are out there and just find someone to help, and single moms, things like that. So the kids were really a blessing in our ministry because they always found a way to make friends with others, no matter where we were at the park or at the library. And as an extension to that, there's the moms, and then the dads that are there with the children. And so just getting to know people and being friendly, reaching out is a great way to, minister to people. You really get to know them when you have them over to your house and just finding out what their needs are. And as an extension of that, you invite them, to service, and then God starts to really get a hold of their heart and meet their needs. And so that was always just a real enjoyable part. And now we're empty nesters, and so that's a new phase of our life. And we're learning how to reach out to people in a lot of ways. We're seeing people who don't have family around, and we're inviting them to our house, and kind of God showing us new ways to reach people.
We're officially the old folks.
Just so. But well, I still have kids at home, so I can see what you mean. How having kids, like being single, being a newlywed couple, having kids, and then empty nesters, how your reach is all different. Who's
absolutely
be attracted to you is different, and so you got to take advantage of whatever time of life that you're in, whatever season you're in.
100%.
Definitely.
And I think another thing, when you're new to pastoring and being a missionary, definitely enjoy your family along the way.
Yeah.
You can get so, especially as a man, you can get so focused in on like, this is my task, this is my mission. I had Pastor Wayman Mitchell. He became my pastor when we took over the Lake Havasu City Church. And so he told me something when we took over that church, and then he actually told me a second time when we went overseas. He's like, Matt, this isn't a vacation. I'm sending you there to work. And so, I took those words to heart, and I just like, let's go, like I'm all in, but along the way, I had to draw back. I had to recognize that, I was the guy that was running, dragging the family behind, and that's not healthy. And so I had to learn to slow down, enjoy my family, and then just recognize too that it's not just a man and my wife, that our kids are there with us as well. They're just as much pioneers, just as much missionaries as we are. They're in just as much culture shock as you are. They miss their family and friends just as much as you do. So you definitely have to take the time to consider your family, consider your kids, and make sure that they know that they're a part of the ministry, and that they're valuable, and that pass on and convey. You have to, as a leader of your home, you have to be able to convey the larger vision of what you're doing to your family. And that will flow down into your kids and in your wife. So someone told me, give me this great example of like in a marriage and in serving God. It's like you're belonging to a church, and as you serve God, He kind of gave me this image of a house, and so like the house has a roof, and then there's the rain that's on the outside. So like it's like Jesus is the first house, Inside of that house is a second house, which is the church. Inside of that is the pastor. Inside of that is the family. And so as the rain beats down from house to house, each roof protects more and more and more to where you finally get down to that place where it's either your home or your children. And essentially very little rain gets through, very little impact gets through because there's so many layers of covering. But we've always kind of used that as a living illustration that, we're there to protect and to cover, but we're always have that revelation that if we stay in that covering, we're going to stay in that flow of God. We're all part of this, this, it's not just we're standing alone. Like there's a bigger picture here. And then there's that other side. I think it was Martin Luther that said people are like drunken peasants. They're falling off of one side of the donkey or the other. Yeah. And so we can either be working too much or we can, and there's a reason why Pastor Wayman Mitchell said, Matt, it's not a vacation. Because people went on vacation, when they should have been doing their ministry. So when it comes to enjoying your family along the way, you have to have that balance. You're there for ministry, but you can't overlook your kids and your family. So if you're there to build a church, you're not there to be at soccer practice, every Saturday. Like you can't allow, like we've had to make those decisions with our kids. Yes, you can be involved in sports, but church and God are always first.
Yeah.
We've had to work through those balances and stay whole when it comes to that. That we want them to be engaged and involved and enjoy their life and have those experiences. But still God, the will of God, it always supersedes all of that other stuff. So
I think that's important. And because I even if you're at home and you don't go out to preach or pastor or anything, I've seen it, and we've all probably done it, where our family life is just pushed aside for the sake of ministry, right? Whatever it is, whether you're in a band, whatever ministry, and then our kids can be like, getting bitter and they're not involved and things like that. So how did you guys include your kids to make them feel, because every time I'm around them, they love God, they love people, they love the ministry just as much as you both. And so like they have your spirit, and they have always been involved from me looking outside. They've always been involved. They've always seemed like they're just as a part of it as Matt, as you as the pastor. And how did you include them, and how did you include them?
Well, I mean, I know we always viewed the people in our church as an extension of our family. So we love them just like we would love our family. However, we do have those healthy boundaries, so we serve when we're in the church. We have people over. We will minister to them and love them and, go the extra mile for every single person. We really do love them. And so in our own homes, we speak well of everyone in the church because we know that the children they're going to have those same viewpoints. They're going to repeat what we say. They're going to model how we live. And so we always want to give them that victory that we have. We love church. We love the people in our church. But there is a protection that we have, a boundary that we have where we are concerned about the people, but we're not consumed by all their problems. As far as we will pray about it, we'll lay hold of God for them. But at the end of the day, it's Jesus, that is going to heal them. It's Jesus that's going to be their helper. And then we do protect our home. And so there's some well-defined boundaries that we have where this is our home. And, we want to spend time together as a family. We've always tried really hard to do things together as a family. We are involved. We know who our children's friends are. We always tried to have them over to our house. And yes, we did let them go over to others, but not too much spending the night. Not unless we knew the family really well and they were saved, they were Christians. But we would always try to have them over to our house so we could get to know those families and just love on those kids and minister to the kids. And and we could play games together. We could do activities. So everything we did as a family. So, whether it's going out and, outreaching, telling people about Jesus, whether it's having just family time where, we go out and do something together as a family, like a vacation time, spending time together at the park or whatever we could do together. So we just really kept those boundaries. If there were things that were coming into our lives that were intruding on our family, we've learned to just talk about it. We've learned to say, hey, this is our family. We're going to protect it. God comes first. Yes. But our family is very important to us. Our marriage is very important to us. And so we recognize those things, that sometimes ministry can, draw upon you every last bit that you have. And you've just got to protect that marriage. You've got to protect your children and know that you can love those people, but you can also have your healthy boundaries of your home, so that so you keep your relationships in your family very healthy and strong.
Yeah.
And I think there's two things to add to that. That one is that, again, like we've always tried to convey to our kids that you're a part of this. This isn't our ministry, and then you're over here, but this is us as a family. Like we don't want to do this without you. We can't do this without you. You're needed, and you're actively participating in this. And so that's been something that I was intentional to try to convey. We'd have discussions about it, I want you to help me hear your heart, hear the situation, your side of things, because I value you. You are my people, or you're my children, right? Like I value your take on what's happening. And in that, I know Angela, Rebecca, Nathan was still pretty young until we came here. But still, when being here, I've always asked them for their input. What do you think about this? What do you think about that color? Even yesterday, or I'm sorry, on Tuesday, I was on the phone with my daughter Angela, and I text her for my illustration for my sermon, and I said, hey, what do you think about this one? Which one would you choose?
Yeah.
Because I want them to have an understanding that, like, I value their opinion when it comes to these things. This isn't just me or Chrissy. This is it's our calling as a family. And then I think the other thing too is letting them know that they have their own personal relationship with God.
Yeah.
Hey, you have to pray.
Yep.
You're not going to get into heaven on our coattails. Like you have to get a hold of God. You have to read your Bible. You have to have that personal relationship. And then being, like we had spoke a little bit, but being the same person everywhere. So we're not talking good about people in the church in front of them and then trashing them at home. We're just not. We're going to be the same people everywhere.
And I think that's important, no matter who you are in the church.
Definitely, yes.
Because they have God with the same people, and if you're like, "Oh, hey," at church, and then you're talking bad about them, they're going to be jaded, and more than likely they're not going to make it.
Yeah, and we had real conversations. There were our kids saw a lot, right? They're PKs, like they're in it. They've got people coming to them and asking them for advice, and asking them for prayer. Like, I'm scared of your dad, let me talk to you about this, like your mom's too serious, when it comes to this, like, let me talk to you. And we'd have to have the real conversations with our kids. Like we had to help them process through things as they're learning to lead people and learning how to help people navigate through stuff. So they've seen some stuff, like they've dealt with some things. And so, we've been very careful. Like we're talking about an issue right now. We're dealing with something with somebody, but we're not going to gossip.
Yeah.
There's a big difference.
Yep.
And so we're going to lay out the truth. We're going to clearly define what's going on, and then we're going to bring it before God.
Yeah.
And then we're going to teach and learn. And then that's that.
Yeah.
Once that's over, We're not going to continually talk about it. It's not going to be the nightly conversation. It's not going to be us tearing down in any way.
Yeah.
And so we've had to. It's been one of those things where we've had some serious situations where we've had to really navigate through some things when it comes to that.
Well, it seems like you guys have done a really good job because your kids have a really good social maturity, and they
Thank
love
you.
people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Yeah.
they're very gracious. They're very patient, and like you just feel the love. Like I said, it's like you guys. You just feel the acceptance around them, and that speaks volumes. So you guys have done a
Well,
good
I
job.
think that that's from our mindset. Like we both have decided to do this. Like when you're working with somebody, you can't look at them for what they are.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
have to be able to, back to that scripture, I'm going to guide you with my eye.
Uh-huh.
Okay, God, what does that mean in the practical? God, help me to see people the way you see them.
Right.
Help me to see people for who they can become in Christ and not who they are in their sin, in their hour of desperation.
Right.
We serve a God of redemption. And I think part of that too, Christine, is our kids have seen us. Like we don't argue in front of our kids, but they've definitely seen us wrestle with finances, wrestle with decisions, calling, doing the will of God. They've been there, as we've made choices concerning things, and they've seen us time and again. Let's choose Jesus.
Right.
Let's obey. Let's
Right.
choose to surrender. Let's do God's will. It's not about what we want. It's about what God wants us to do.
Yeah.
And I, part of my prayer is like, God, I want to be real. I want to be transparent. I don't want to dump on my kids. They're not my sounding board. I mean, we've experienced that, Christine, growing up, where we were counselors to our parents. And it's like, I don't want my kids to feel like they have to counsel me.
Right.
But I'm going to be clear and honest that there have been times where my kids have spoke to my life.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, man, I thank God for you right now
Yeah.
because you
But
just helped me.
Them that you've put into them, that like God's just bringing that back to you, because I've had a couple, especially my boys. I think my boys are more. It's just a different relationship with sons and mothers. I'm not saying one's better than the other. It's just a different dynamic. But two of my boys in particular, it's very kind, very gently, but right to the point, and just like the Holy Ghost just used it. I'm like, yep, you're right. Yeah, and I think that's great.
Yeah. Yeah. And we love them all the same, but we love them differently. We love them for who they are as an individual.
Yep.
And they all have brought such beauty to our lives, such joy to our lives. And we've tried to really convey that too, and I think that part of that comes back to.
Did you know that the majority of diaper companies out there are not pro-life? They are actually pro-abortion. They fund abortion, support abortions. So that means when you go buy regular name brand diapers or big box store diapers, part of your money is going to fund abortions. But I recently heard about this company who's very pro-God, pro-life, pro-women, pro-baby. They are called Every Life because every life matters. And they not only sell diapers and wipes, you can get a subscription, you can buy one time, they're non-toxic. You can also buy women products. And so I recently made a purchase and I bought some women's products and I was very pleased with them. They come compact, so they're very discreet. And then also I purchased some diapers for my daughter and her baby. And my daughter was very pleased with the diapers. So if you want to support life, support babies, go to Every Life. I will leave the link in the show notes and support life.
As a pastor, as a new pioneer, as a missionary, like we've kind of made it an intentional thing too. Is like, man, we just have to enjoy this.
Yeah.
We have to have fun. And if you make ministry that I have to, oh man, do we gotta go? Like if you're doing that as a parent, as the pastor and pastor's wife, that's the attitude your kids are gonna pick up.
Yeah.
And so our attitude is always try, there are times that are tough and there's times where you don't feel like prayer, you don't feel like going to church, everybody's mad at you at church. And like, Pastor Mitchell used to say it all the time. I shake hands with people that talk bad about me every day.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's true. That happens. But you know what? You can't let that run your life.
Right.
And the perspective that we've always chosen is, man, this is a privilege.
Yeah.
Not a right. It's a privilege and we have an opportunity that a lot of people don't have.
Right.
And that is just to make an impact in other people's lives for the good. It's very easy to make an impact for the bad.
Yeah.
But very, very difficult to make an impact for the good. You have to be very intentional to do that.
Yeah.
And I think that's been one of the things, like with our kids, like please make sure that you're living your life to make an impact for the good.
Right.
Because you don't want to look back and have just a list of regrets.
Right.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda. Right.
Right.
No, just be a Christian, love people, love God, and have fun. And like let's enjoy this. Doesn't need to be drudgery.
Yeah. And what's amazing is like I've seen, like you guys at first time, like your parents weren't saved type thing. And so you guys have broken so many family curses.
Yeah.
Kids don't have to fight. And then you're going to be able to see your granddaughter and how it's just amazing when you've stayed the course and you've fought battles and your kids don't have to fight them. And then they parent so much better than you guys. Like, maybe it's just us, but like we see it live out, and I'm just like, man, my daughter is such a better mom than I am, and it's such a blessing. And the areas that like I almost like really struggle and I had to like get intense with God, she's got it down. And so I'm like, praise God that she doesn't have to wrestle these areas out because I fought already on my knees, right? And I see the confidence in her daughters, like my granddaughters, and it's so rewarding to see like we have fought battles, we have pushed it through, and to see it play out, it is just amazing. So being grandparents is a whole nother reward, and it your kids are awesome, but grandkids are so you'll see you're gonna start reaping by watching your daughter be a mom, Chrissy, and the things that you put into her, you're gonna see and you're gonna be like blown away. Like, wow. You're not even gonna realize, but God's gonna speak to you and you put that in her. And it's gonna be amazing, and same with you, Matt, but I'm saying because mom and it's just it's amazing.
Yeah. And that's the wonderful grace of God because, both of us didn't come from, very healthy homes. But when I got saved, and when you got saved, it's like we entered into, the church and we were surrounded by great examples. And so I got to see women of God that prayed and put their kids on their laps and prayed with their children. Like you, Christine, I watched you with your daughter, and your son. And it was just amazing because that showed me a godly example of a woman, who prays and loves God. And I was able to follow in your footsteps, yours and many of the women in the church, because I wasn't able to always know what to do as a mom, as a wife, looking at my unsaved family, but I could look at the women in the church and find powerful examples. Right. And it's like a legacy that gets passed on, and I'm so grateful for that. Just the grace that was given to me by the people in the church, through all my teenage years and through all my mistakes that I made. And yet people were gracious towards me. That helped me develop into the woman of God I am today. And that helps me be gracious on others. You know, hey, grace was given to me for people showed me forgiveness, and I can show others, you know, extend that forgiveness to them. It wasn't just something that was in me. It was the grace of God that he imparted in me through the church, you know, and through my, you know, pastor and pastor's wife, and through the women of God in the church who were able to help me as a young girl become a woman, you know, and just show me how to be a mom. You know, I learned that being in people's homes and watching them share the love of God with their children, you know. And I'm so grateful to everyone in the church for showing me that, because those are lessons that were put in me, you know, while I was young. And then I was able to pass those on to my girls, you know, and my son. What a grace of God. It's like a gift, and it keeps getting passed down. And the church is such a refuge for us. You know, we see it as a protection, huh?
Yeah.
Protection for our marriage, a protection for our family. And like you said, hopefully that will continue to pass down into our grandchildren. I mean, what a blessing. Serving God is really worth it.
Yeah, it is. Yes, it's totally worth it. So I have a question that's not like, it just came up in my mind at the beginning of this podcast. And so just right off the fly. So for those of us that are called to stay, how can we, besides like prayer and giving money, how can we support those that go out to pastor, to pioneer, to be missionaries? How can we support you guys?
One of the cool things when we were overseas, the Prescott Church and the Tempe Church partnered together to support us to be there. And one of the cool things that the Tempe Church does is, well, two things. They do a thing every month called Focus Fire. And what that is they pick a couple that, you know, that they're supporting, and they focus their prayers for that month. They focus on that couple, whether it be missionaries or, you know, stateside. But we definitely felt it. You know, we'd get an email, you're going to be Focus Fire this month. And we definitely felt like, man, there was momentum. There was, because those folks were praying for us, you know, and they were focusing the fire of their prayer. And, that was intense. And the other thing that they would do is they would send us birthday cards.
Oh yeah.
You know, just people in the church, you know, all these names. We didn't know people in the Tempe church before they started to support us, you know, and we had to learn who these people were over the course of a few years. But, you know, those cards would come and they meant something to us.
Yeah.
Because they meant that we were supported. They meant that we were loved. They meant that we were thought of. We weren't just, they're out there, we're here living our life, you know. So the mother church, the sending church, the home church, really does have a big part to play in what's going on in their pioneer works. So, you know, it's kind of like in our fellowship, it's very easy to kind of start to think like, if I'm not pioneering, then I'm not somebody. That's not true.
Right.
There's so many times where we will get text messages or calls from friends, from family in church, and it's a lifeline. You know, it's a total blessing. It's an encouragement. And so, you know, pray all you can, give all you can, and be supportive all you can, you know, encouraging.
Yeah.
You know, and there was times where, you know, it was challenging to talk to people from our home church, because it was like, oh, you don't call enough. You don't, you know, you never come around. And those types of conversations are challenging. So, because it's like, man, we're out here killing ourselves and we feel isolated already. And it's tough to hear those comments. So I think be supportive, you know, be understanding, as far as the people that are sent out, because it's not we're not against each other. We're together, you know, and it's so valuable to have someone give you that positive affirmation.
Yeah.
Because when you're pastoring, pioneering, you don't get a lot of pats on the back. You don't get a lot of thank yous. But when someone from your mother church takes the time and tells you thank you, takes the time and says, I'm thinking about you.
Yeah.
Man, you can't put a price tag on that. It's more precious than gold and silver. It makes it,
Yeah.
So, there's my wife always asks me, who do you want to go hang out with when we go to conference? Like what pastor do you want to get together with? And my common response is, I want to get together with the people from the church.
Yeah.
Like I get it. There's a need. I do need to be around other pastors, and I'm grateful for my pastoral friends, and we always make a way. But I really just want to see the folks in the church, my friends, because they mean something, to me.
Yeah.
And it's not like we're pastors now and you're just the person in the church, No, we're in together,
And that's so important because being ones that are staying, you do feel that like we're just staying, right?
No way.
But you do feel it sometimes, and it's always said the best of the best is getting sent out, right? And so then like those of us that are staying, we're like, okay, but it's definitely different now. Like I think that's so awesome because those are the people, and not that the pastors are not investing in your lives, but those are the people that are steadily investing in your lives, and I feel like they're fulfilling the will of God as much as you are, because we didn't call them to go out. It doesn't mean that they're not in the will of God. And so,
but there's another aspect to it is that the people in the congregation are the training ground for the pastors that are going out. The wives learn hospitality from the other women in the church. They learn confidentiality from the other women in the church. They learn, support from the other women in the church. And with the men, the iron sharpens iron. The altar calls, the Bible studies, all of that stuff is honed in the mother church.
Right.
You really don't know how to do all that stuff till you get sent out and you're like in the fire, but you constantly reference back. And it's like, man, if I didn't have these people in my life to have helped me learn these lessons, I'd be in big trouble.
Yeah.
So, it was men in the church that taught me how to preach an altar call, run a soundboard, set up equipment, play instruments, lead a song service, lead an outreach. We always think pastor disciple, but it was like for me and in my experience, my pastor did talk to me about a few things, but not a whole lot. The majority of my discipleship was the other brothers in the church.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even ladies, like I learned boundaries from the ladies in the church, no, I'm not going to be there, not going to do that, not going to be a part of that, and it's like, oh, that's godly,
Yeah.
And so those are critical components. That if you don't have a healthy base of people, pillars in the church, it's like I can't do what I'm doing without my wife. The pioneer can't do what he's doing. And I say that in the family, the pioneer family can't do what they're doing without the mother church.
Right.
And the mother church can't be a mother church without those that sinned.
Right.
And kind of to go back to your comment, we're sending our best. To be honest with you, that's a statement that's said not to diss the church. That's a statement to give confidence to the couple that's going.
Yeah.
Because you're like, in my whole world, you've gone from this well-oiled machine, and I told Chrissy this, like, we were joking about it when we first we're pioneering. It's like, man, we start off vacuuming floors and scrubbing toilets, and we work our way up in ministry just to go right back to vacuuming floors, scrubbing toilets,
Yeah.
because now we're pioneering. Oh, great. I'm scrubbing the toilet. And
Yeah.
I'm the only one here. We're doing everything, and we're serving, and we're being treated like trash. In a lot of ways, by the devil, by the world. Like, people are mocking you, like, you're here to pioneer a church. We don't need another church. So you're fighting these mind battles, and if you don't have that in your head, they sent the best, like, then you're gonna struggle.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you have to balance it, not to become prideful. I'm the best, self-righteous, but there does have to be something that's in you that says, no, I have what it takes.
Yeah. That makes sense.
They trusted us.
Yeah.
They believe in us.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're going through it, if you don't have that confidence that your mother church is behind you, and they think that you're going to be successful, you're going to struggle.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just to add to that, like, thinking about what the church is, I mean, it's comprised of people that as others come in, there's strong families and strong marriages in the church, that visitors can come in who are broken, who are hurting, and they can see how a healthy family is. Or maybe people that are imperfect, but that still love God, and that God's still working in their life, and they know where the answer is, and it's Jesus, and it's in church. They don't need to see perfect families or perfect marriages. They just need to see people who are real. And that's what the church is. And so I am forever grateful, to all the people in our church, because that's who who taught us how to be Christians. And yes, we're pastoring a church, but it's all these wonderful people in the church that welcome all the visitors, the moms that make, all these wonderful, cookies and desserts and things like that for our fellowships, and the food, and the men that help the other men, put on a tie, that they've never worn before, or, help the young teenagers, learn how to speak politely to the women, just things like that, it's the people in the church that make up the church. I mean, it's there is no, greater or less, as far as ministry is concerned. We're all serving God together. And if you just have a church with just the pastor and his wife, well, that's what pioneering is. You don't have a church yet. And so you just have to learn to serve people and love people the way the people in the church loved you. That's why you're where you are. And so it's just, to us, we're so thankful, for the people in the church. We couldn't do what we do without those who are, back home giving, those who are back home praying for us, being faithful. All the ministries, they're involved in, Sunday schools and children's church and nursery, and all the ministries, cleaning crew, they're so important to God. That's where God's heart is. Those people that serve, that don't get any accolades. They don't do it to be up on the stage or get their name announced. They do it because they truly love God, and God really honors that. And I know there's going to be great rewards in heaven, and it's going to be wonderful to see the ones that get rewarded. They may not be the ones that were up on the stage or the ones that got their names called out, but it's going to be the ones that God saw serving just every day, just loving Jesus for the right reasons. So that should make everyone in the church just feel good. I'm doing this because I love Jesus. He saved me, and it's my reasonable service, so.
I think that that's one thing with you guys, is that you guys have remained grateful. And that is very key. You guys have a very grateful heart. So that's awesome.
Thank you.
No, thank you. That's good. So we're almost done, but do you guys have a biggest lesson that you've learned by being in ministry that we didn't touch on, or is it one that we've already talked about?
The biggest lesson would be to keep your marriage strong. When it comes to being in ministry, is to make sure that you're continually investing in your spouse.
Mhm.
You know, from a husband to the wife, from the wife to the husband, and there's always something pulling on your time. There's always something, you know, trying to get you to, you know, give your energy, your thoughts. You know, there's always something
Yeah.
when it comes to ministry. But you have to be intentional to set time aside to listen to each other,
Mhm.
not just hear, but actually listen. And that's one of the things that I needed to learn. Um, is my wife would tell me things, and I'd be like, you know, yeah, it's not nothing you need to worry about. Don't stress about that, or you know, I've got it covered. But what I was doing was I was sending a message to her that I didn't value her opinion by
Mhm.
just kind of shrugging it off. So I needed to learn that, you know, I needed to engage there, and that was critical when it comes to ministry because, you know, it's not just, like I said, it's not just the pastor
Yeah.
and it's not just the pastor's wife. It's everybody in the family, you know? And so, but it's critical in our marriages, that we develop a system to communicate, our needs to each other.
Yeah.
So we had set a few things in place that from the very beginning when we first got married. I thank God for my wife. She had this, already kind of one of the things that she had in her heart to when she was going to get married. Um, you know, we're all going to have disagreements. We're gonna have times that we don't see things, the same way,
Mhm.
and in that there comes arguments, right?
Yeah.
Um, but she, you know, she kind of came to the table early on in our marriage and just said, "Hey, when we have disagreements, I want us to go on the record here and just make a commitment that we're not going to name call,
Mhm.
and that we're not going to yell at each other, um, and that we're going to do our best to work things out.
Yeah.
We're not going to fight in front of our children when we have children,
Mhm.
and that, you know, that's been a guiding, principle through our marriage the entire time.
Mhm.
You know, we'll see people that are in ministry having difficulties in their marriage, and they're calling each other stupid or, you know, just stuff, you know,
Yeah.
names. And I'm grateful that we've never gone there. We've made it a commitment not to go there. Um, and then we've also developed a system to communicate to each other. You know, like the openness about our needs. You know, so I give my wife the right to interrupt my life.
Mhm.
Go ministry. You're doing this. You're doing that. Um, and there are times where, you know, you just get a calendar and you get your things going, and you know, you have stuff that you're trying to do in the church and accomplish in the church. Um, and you know, she has the right to come and say, "Hey, I need a date night."
Mhm.
So I think that's one of the things that, um, expectations need to be realistic too when it comes to this. Is like, you know, I think there was times where, you know, she would just be like, "You just need to notice that I need a date." Like, well, I'm sorry, I'm not psychic, you know, like.
All this. It's not Chris. It's a wife thing.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like as well, then as a husband thing, you know, it's nice to just have a little communication like, "Hey, I need a date night."
Mhm.
Hey, we have this what we call couch time where we're going to sit down and talk. You
Mhm.
know, hey, I need some couch time.
Mhm.
Um, and there are times, you know, when I do recognize, that she does, you know, you could tell there's emotions, there's things like, "Hey, what's going on? What's wrong?"
Mhm.
Um, and we've worked it out too, like where when I ask, you know, instead of like nothing,
Mhm.
you know, it's like, "Oh no, don't just brush me off. If I recognize and I
Yeah.
communicate to you that I see it, then be honest about it and tell me." And
Mhm.
that's been very helpful too, you know, like we've made those commitments. Um, so your marriage is critical.
Yeah.
You got anything to add?
Well, yeah, it's very important. We've definitely learned how to communicate and work through like a lot in the ministry. I would say like for me, working, just with your pastor's wife, having that really good relationship with them to where you feel like you can reach out and you can call, because you are going to come to some bumps in the road along the path of life, whether you're in ministry or even just in church, just ministering to people in your family. And it's so good to be able to reach out and just call your pastor, just be honest, just let them know, hey, this is what we're going through, and not to think that you're the only ones facing those issues, whatever it may be, raising children, marriage, whatever those problems are, that there's a whole church filled with normal people that are facing those same issues. And even the pastor and his wife have those same common issues that they're facing. And you can definitely reach out to them. They're a resource for you, and other women in the church, other people in the church. Definitely it takes a lot of humility, and to know that you can reach out, make that phone call, ask for advice, ask for godly wisdom, for issues that may arise. And so that's what your pastor's there for. Right. And he can pray with you. And there's something powerful about, when you get God involved, that, pastor will just pray over the situation and the Holy Spirit comes in and just breaks through. Maybe a mind battle, maybe something that you've been facing that you feel like you're all alone in, but really you're not. It just takes, it takes you reaching out and saying, hey, will you pray with me? Whoever it is that you reach out to, whether it's your pastor or a good friend that you have, family member, just reach out and let someone pray with you and break whatever that stronghold or whatever that mindset or whatever that lie from hell that's coming into your mind and making you feel isolated. If you ever feel that isolation, recognize that, okay, I need to stop looking inward. I need to reach out and find a support system. And the best place is, someone close to you that will speak good, godly wisdom into your life. And then also your pastor, because he can pray and really get the Holy Spirit in that situation. And it'll be a supernatural touch of God. And it might not be a time conversation. It might be an ongoing, conversation that you have, a process that you're working through until you see breakthrough. But I would say that's probably one of the best things I could say, because as you're working as a married couple and as parents, there are going to be things that come up that you feel like you don't know how to face these barriers. You're not seeing the breakthrough you want, or you're not seeing the resolution in the conflicts that you need to see. Reach out to your pastor. Like, do not be afraid. That is what your pastor is there for. Reach out to a friend in the church. Whatever it's going to take, that someone will pray with you. And I would say that's saved us many times in ministry and in our relationship with Christ. Whenever you feel isolated, just reach out and God will bring breakthrough.
Yeah. That's what the devil's, one of his main strategies is to keep us isolated. Yes. Because he said almost every time that I've reached out and I've humbled myself or just whatever, I'm going to reach out, it almost always breaks. And you're like, why did I wait so long?
Yes. So true.
Yeah, Pastor Greg Mitchell told us, there's power in agreement. Yeah. And so, we, and it was like, man, we were going through some stuff, and, we're talking to him about marriage issues. And then he just made that simple statement: let's pray. I believe there's power in agreement. Yeah. And it was like, man, things shifted. Yeah. We needed a miracle. And that was the tipping point, the fulcrum that pushed us over the edge. Yeah. Where we were able to come, humbly surrendered, submitted, and talk about some things, and then find, he didn't have a ton of answers for us. He just let's pray. Yeah. I believe that there's power in agreement. And so sometimes I think people are afraid that their leadership is going to be heavy handed or, overly pick a side. Sometimes it's not about that. It's that, you know what, man, we really just need to have that agreement factor put into place.
Well, it goes back to your house analogy. Yeah. And, when you go to your headship, you go to your leader, you're staying under that covering. And so, and your headship is coming into agreement with you, and you guys are agreeing with your headship. And so you're under that that house analogy, like you said. So it's so true. So true. So real quick, just if you guys could each, and maybe you guys have the same, but just tell us one funny story that you have from your years of pioneering, pastoring, being overseas. Just one funny story.
Okay, go ahead.
Did you want to say the hot Cheeto?
No, you can.
Okay, I want to tell you the story. It's one of my favorites. So there was a gentleman in the church, and a few people that would send us items when we were missionaries overseas. And one thing was a box of Bibles. And we just love this because it's hard to get Bibles on the island. Believe it or not, there's one Christian bookstore and very, very expensive. And so we always have new converts, people that come to church, visitors, and we love to give them Bibles. And so this box was sent to us, and we opened it, and inside the box was not just Bibles, but it was also packages of chips, namely hot Cheetos. And so because of the pressurization that takes place, on the when it was shipped to us, all the bags popped open. And so there was hot Cheetos everywhere, all over the Bibles. And so they were covering all the pages of the Bible. So we had to wipe them clean. We had to take a rag and try to get them as clean as we could. And so we did a pretty good job where you could see just the edges and the pages were speckled, but we pretty much got it clean.
They were permanently stained red, hot Cheeto red.
Yeah, but we were still able to use them because it just looked like they were speckled red almost on purpose. Yeah. But they still had just a little bit of an aroma of hot Cheetos. So when we put them out for people, they could take them. And I remember one of the girls in our church, to this day, we have a joke about this, that whenever she opens her Bible up, because she would open up during church and she would start to get these cravings, and she would
open the Bible and smell it.
She said, every time I read my Bible, I get cravings for hot Cheetos. Yeah. And we just started laughing because she had no idea. I think
Yeah. I mean, you couldn't get hot Cheetos on the island.
Yeah.
But when she would come over and spend time with the kids, because people were sending us hot Cheetos for the kids, they would share. And so she knew what they were at some point. And then that's why she was saying, I smell it when I'm reading the Bible, and so we told her the story eventually.
Yeah.
It's still a running joke with us and her, and it's very, very funny.
So note to people sending things to missionaries or going through flights, separate the Bibles and the hot Cheetos. Don't send explosive things.
Yep, because they go on a plane, they're not pressurized in the lower portion.
At least it was dry. At least it wasn't like a lotion or something like that.
That's right.
True. Yeah. For me, my favorite funny story is when we were up in Auburn. We had a neighboring church come in, and they were doing like a play. We were doing a concert scene, and they were doing a skit. And the skit was, a guy dancing around. He would put a shoe on, and it was representative of sin. They called it the sin shoe. And so every time he'd put the shoe on, he'd dance around, and then he'd want to go back to his life. He'd take the shoe off and go back to normal. So it had on and off throughout the course of the skit. And it finally came to the point where he couldn't get the shoe off anymore, portraying the fact that there comes a point where you can't just stop sinning, where now sin has control of you. Well, there just so happened to be a visitor there that night that he was intoxicated. And so the guy's up on stage, he's dancing around, and he's like, I can't get the shoe off. And this guy, the visitor, he goes charging up to the stage, and he's screaming as he's going, I'll help you, man. I'll help you. He tackled the guy and starts yanking on his foot. He's pulling on his foot. And it all happened so fast. Myself and another pastor and a couple of the other men went up to grab him and get him back to his seat. But, here's this poor guy, he's just acting out a skit. And the next thing you know, he's getting tackled and someone's yanking on his foot. And, but it's the sin shoe skit, man. It's still to this day, like one of the funniest, things. And it played out well. It worked out well, but, Just the dynamics of how it all happened. It was just hysterical. It was super funny.
Yeah, when you're pioneering, there's so many funny stories that some things are just so comical when you get together with other, pastors and pastors' wives and you trade stories. One of our friends said that they had a visitor that came and whistled through the entire service. And they were like, the pastor's trying to preach and this visitor is just whistling during the whole thing. And so what do you do in those funny situations? I mean, you just have to roll with it. You just have to keep it in your journal.
So you go back and laugh.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a woman at our church who she would always tease us about how we raise our hands, and she'd say, in my church, we don't raise our hands. I think she told us that for years and years until finally she had she had to move back to her other church. And what did she tell the pastor there? In my other church, they raise their hands. We need to raise our hands.
These people are so dead over here. Yeah.
So it's just funny. You cannot take people too seriously, and they really do have good hearts. And we always just keep a sense of humor no matter what. Just enjoy.
And another thing is we have permanently banned tambourines. As we've had whole families show up, and they right before song service, they start handing out tambourines to everybody in the family. And it's a train wreck.
What do you do? Like, how do you ban them? Like, what if somebody brings them out?
Please don't do that. Please don't play the tambourine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's one thing if it's all on beat, but when they're all on their own beat, yeah.
It always happens. If they bring their own tambourine, they don't know how to play it.
You got to try out for the tambourine player?
For real, yes.
And we've had it the opposite. We had a gentleman that came to church and he's like, I'll play for your song service. And so we just wanted him to show us what he could play. So I play the piano, just a few chords. He gets up there and he just starts playing amazing guitar, like Jimi Hendrix, And I'm like, okay, I cannot keep up with that. Wow. I mean, he was just over the top amazing. And so we just keep a sense of humor about everything. You just try to keep
learn to laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have fun with it.
That's cool. Do you guys have anything else that you wanted to add?
I think one of the other big things is learn to discuss finances.
Yeah.
And do it in a non-emotional way.
Yeah.
Make sure you're establishing a budget and make sure that you're both on board with what's going on with your finances, and that'll save you from a lot of heartache. I think finances are huge when it comes to stress, like the stress levels.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can kind of be on the same page when it comes to that, that's a big help. I think it's a lot of the counseling that I do as a pastor. There's a huge financial component, and then be willing to just discuss it, and because there's different philosophies on how to approach it.
Yeah.
But be willing to hear each other out when it comes to that too, in your marriage.
Yeah.
Because people come from different backgrounds and upbringings. And then you guys have to clearly define wants and needs too.
Right.
Because there have been times where, my wife has said, I need this, and it's a want.
Yeah.
And I've said, I need this, and it's a want.
Right.
And then there's been times where she's told me, hey, I really would like this, but she frames it in like it's a want, but it's really a need.
Yeah.
And then I just misunderstood, thinking that it was a want when it was really a need.
Yeah.
And it was like, whoa, no, you do need that. So learning to kind of, categorize those things correctly in your life as well.
Right.
There was a time where we were a single vehicle family, and here's my wife. We're pioneering, and she's loading up kids onto a bus and going in, trying to do those library trips and stuff, but she's dragging kids in a stroller onto a bus. Not good.
Yeah.
That's a bad scene. And it wasn't until I realized like what it was that she was doing and what it was that she was going through, I'm like, hey, we got to get a second vehicle. Like, we can't do this, but I had to learn to see what she was going through and to get her perspective, and then respond to that, and be able to help be a blessing when it came to that.
One thing that's helped Robert and I to talk about those hard topics, whether it's finances or whatever, that you need to remove the emotions, because then it's going to get crazy, is to actually plan. Like, hey, we need to talk about something. When is a good time? Like, we need to talk about something the next few days. So you're not waiting months, but we need to set aside some time this week to talk about something that's important to me, or we need to talk about the finances. And then either together pray, preferably to pray together before you start the discussion.
Yeah.
Or, if your spouse is not on board with that, then you pray by yourself. And then as you're going into the conversation, that you're not going to, lose your head and, or let it get out of hand, I should say, and that has helped us long term to talk about. I mean, we still sometimes go in diving into a conversation and oh, wait a minute, we should have a little bit more mature about this, but that's helped us.
Yeah, and then definitely when you're having those kind of conversations, stay on topic.
Exactly.
Stay in the situation of the time. That time frame as well.
Yeah.
Because what ends up happening is frustrations from a previous time or frustrations from a previous situation can bleed over if you're not careful, and then next thing you know, this something that is really unemotional, it's really not a big thing, it turns into a big thing. But you have to, again, you have to be intentional when it comes to those things, and that's something that we've had to learn. And then I think when it comes to marriage, we could probably do a whole one on just marriage. But when it comes to marriage, is be willing to take the time and stop when you're talking to each other. And we've had to come to this place where I've had to choose, and where she's had to choose, to believe that we're for each other.
Yeah.
She's my best friend. I'm her best friend. She doesn't want to hurt me. I don't want to hurt her. So that when something is said with a sharp edge, or with a tone that's not, it doesn't fit the situation, or it's a comment that has, a little bit of a cut to it, that we've given each other this right to ask and question. Hey, when you said that, it made me feel this way. Did you mean it to come across like that?
Right.
And ever since we've started to communicate on that level, everything has changed, because we realized, hey, we're hearing differently than what's being spoken.
Right.
I didn't mean that to be a hurtful comment, but you heard it that way.
Right.
And in that, we've learned our filters. I've learned that I was hearing things that she was saying, and I was being threatened by them, but she was just trying to be a blessing.
Yeah.
And she's learned that because we grew up in a house that was, it had some tough language and some cutting edge, but I never meant it to hurt. I was just being very direct. But that's not how she grew up, so I've had to learn, I can't say things like that to her. I have to speak differently.
Yeah.
But I learned that through her asking me those questions. Did you mean that to be sarcastic? Did you mean that to be hurtful? Well, no, I didn't. Well, I'm sorry if you took it that way. What was my tone? What was it? And then it changes the discussion. And we're able to actually get down to working on things instead of being wrapped up in these emotions because of how something was said or how something was heard. You never actually solve problems.
Right.
So once you kind of remove a lot of that, you can actually get to the problem. a real issue. And that's been very helpful when it comes to that aspect of not just ministry, because it does affect ministry, but that's just marriage.
Yeah.
You know, that's just living together and taking two selfish people and putting them in the same house and work it out.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. Well, this has been fun. It's good. And it kind of like ties in with this other podcast that I just released on hospitality and how much hospitality is involved in soul winning and how much hospitality is involved in just helping each other make it.
Yes.
It's just amazing, like how just so many things that you guys said mirrored what the other lady and I talked about. It's just amazing. So thank you guys for joining me again and taking the time out again. And I really appreciate it, and it's been fun.
Well, thank you for having us. Appreciate it.